Okay, so battling the narcissist's secret weapon. What is the secret weapon of the narcissist? And to understand what the secret weapon is, we have to understand, what fuels the narcissist, what motivates them, where they gather their inspiration from. I've talked about this before, but what really inspires these people is negativity. It's hate, it's anger, fear, jealousy, all the emotions that embody negativity. And the narcissist channels negative energy, and that is the energy or the spirit, the force that propels them in life. That is their whole goal, is they channel this negative energy, this negative spirit, this negative force, and then they do their bidding with that power. They use that to extract energy and power from other people. They use that to spread chaos and destabilization throughout society and through people's lives. And so, understanding that, we can begin to understand what their secret weapon is. And I am very familiar with this. I have been dealing with this for the majority of my life. And I only recently have been able to understand what it is and how it works and how I can protect myself against it. But one thing you have to keep in mind is even once you become aware and informed and you know what to look for, it can still get you. So it's incredibly powerful. So what it is the narcissists have this ability to channel negative energy, and what they can do is point it at you and implant that seed of that negativity, that anxiety, that fear, the chaos, whatever it is. And they can implant that seed into your psyche, deep within your subconscious. And what happens is that seed sprouts and it begins to take root and it begins to grow. And so I have been experiencing this 40 years of my life. I'm 44 now. I've only recently kind of gotten hold of it. So what happened to me was growing up in a narcissistic family environment. I had a narc mom, and she's inspired to destabilize people's lives, create chaos, triangulate people against one another. I mean, the classic narcissist maneuvers. I was the scapegoat. So, a lot of negative energy and attention was thrown my way. So that negativity, that negative energy took root in my subconscious, in my psyche, in who I am. And it grew and it consumed me. And I was consumed as a child with anger and rage and frustration and anxiety, all those things. And so what ended up happening was I then would lash out at other people. I'd lash out at my brother. I was really mean to him. And then I would lash out at my peers in school. I'd be really mean to kids. I was really good at coming up with nicknames that would really cut through, and really hurt people. And it is sad to think of, so much when we're kids, we're in grade school, middle school, high school. Man, if you get made fun of and teased and hammered on, some of these kids, like, I came up with nicknames for them in like third grade, and that lasted all the way through till they graduated from high school. And they never lived that down. And even to this day, if people see that person, they'll still call them those awful names. But that goes to show the power of how these people, these narcissists, can channel that energy, put it in you, and have it grow. And then you start pushing that energy out into the world, causing chaos and destabilizing innocent people's lives. So this is a powerful weapon that they possess. And it's really, really important to understand what it can do to you and people around you. So as a little kid, I just took out my frustration, my anxiety, my anger on other people around me. When I became a teenager, I discovered drugs. And what happened was I started using drugs, and then I was able to take the energy that I was putting outwards, all the negativity towards other people, and I directed it inward at myself. So rather than hating other people, I started hating myself. And that began to destroy my life. And that lasted from, I started smoking weed when I was 15, and I smoked weed up until I was 20, in my probably my early 30s, I began drinking. I never really drank much, but I smoked weed. I smoked weed constantly. And, and that was, my life really wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't hurting other people, but I was definitely hurting myself, and I wasn't able to understand and process any of the emotions and feelings that I was bottling inside. And ultimately, I just used weed to just, escape. It was just my form of escaping everything that I was feeling. So then, I went through, it was like a traumatic event where I had a girlfriend, and she we were together for a while, and I thought she was cool. Turns out she's a raging narc. Anyway, she'd been had another dude on the side the whole time. And so she bailed, and I had no, society, school, people don't tell you how to cope. And when you're experiencing, emotional trauma, your body and your psyche naturally is going to cope in some way. So, of course, I coped with what society provides to us, which is drugs and alcohol. So I started drinking real heavy. And that was that negative seed that was growing inside of me, and it was like this massive tree, consuming my life. And I just kept drinking. It just fueled everything. And what's interesting about drinking was it really kept me in. I was able to really feel the past. I remember that's what I really liked about alcohol was I could get drunk and remember being with this girl, and I could remember all the good times we had, or the good feelings I had with her. And I realized that's what's really powerful with alcohol for me, was being able to reminisce and being, kind of, you just get stuck in the past. You never move forward. You never move out of that. So ultimately, you know how it goes with alcohol. If you're drinking every day, and it begins to consume your life, and it will ultimately destroy you. And so that's what, that's where I was headed with that negative seed that the initial narcissist, my narcissist mom, implanted in me. So it was interesting because all that negativity was reinforced. So I moved out of my home. I wasn't dealing with the narc mother all the time, but then through the trauma bonding, I would then attract more narcissists, and so then all that evil negative feeling and that giant tree inside of me growing was just being reinforced with these other people. And it was like the exact same agenda. It's strange to think, what is up with these people, and how are they so coordinated in their effort? It seems like they're all on the same team. And you and I, we're not on the same team working against the narcissists. I'm just an individual. I'm an innocent person, and so are you. But these narcissists, they're out there, and they're on the same fucking team. I don't get it. And every single action, it's all coordinated. They want to take you to the exact same place. And where that was leading me was ultimately destruction of myself. Because it was and it was fueling the narcissists around me, where I'm consuming alcohol, I'm reckless, it's getting more and more dangerous. I got a DUI, I'm drunk driving all the time. My life is chaotic. I'm super depressed. All I want to do is escape. It was just like a fucking nightmare. And it ultimately would have ended in my destruction. And that's the goal with that evil energy and that negativity. All that is just, they want to see you destroyed. And I don't know ultimately what the agenda is. They just want to eliminate all the good people. I don't know. But ultimately, it was going to destroy me. And so, luckily, I was able to, get some good insight from people who were in my life. And I had some kind of revelations, and I was able to turn around. And I've told this story many times. And, I was able to get out of that situation. And thank God. That's why I'm here today, and I can share this with you, because, I was able to I just tore that evil tree out of me. I tore that bitch out, I chopped it up, and I burned it. And that evil tree is gone. And I made the decision that, I made a decision of how I want to feel. And that's a big thing. And especially if you're around these narc people, they're really dictating how you feel. They're dictating what you do and how you feel and the decisions that you make. And a big thing that empowered me was being able to control how I feel and choosing how I feel. And I'm a happy person. I like to help people. I have empathy, you know, like I want to be a good person. I want to see other people do well. I want to make the world a better place. Like I don't want to, you know, I want to avoid destroying things and destroying people's lives. Like I do the opposite of that. So being able to make that decision and then being able to understand what that feels like inside and then being able to execute that. And with this evil tree, you know, ripped out and cut to pieces and lit on fire and that fucker's gone, it's nothing but love inside of me. You know, that's the main emotion, the main feeling. It's like love and support, and I want to build and create and do all that stuff. But what is interesting is you have this awakening and you realize, like, okay, yeah, you know, these terrible people were controlling my life and I was giving all my time and power over to them, and it was, you know, causing chaos and destruction. I was going to die and all these things. You come out of it, you have your awakening, and the problem is these people are everywhere and you're going to deal with them, who knows, you know, for the rest of your life. You're going to have to deal with them. And so that's what's happened to me. And there's been situations where I have to deal with these evil people. And man, if you there's a big skill in all of this that you just have to practice it, you have to learn it, you have to master it. And it's the ability to be your own observer. You have to be able to step outside of yourself from that bird's eye view, that third person view, whatever, and you have to be able to observe your reactions, your feelings, your emotions, because you get into the narc trance and like you're blind. You know, you can't see what is happening to you. And so I had a situation where, you know, this narc, who's like a raging narc, is like, you know, of course, raging. And, you know, their whole life is just channeling destruction and chaos and negativity. It's all around them. And so I'm within their proximity and boom, they shoot that at me. You know, it was over just like some, you know, like a misunderstanding. They shoot that negativity, that anxiety, that fear, all that energy gets shot at me. It goes into me, and like the interaction's over, we go our separate ways. I'm sitting on the couch thinking about the interaction, and that negativity begins to grow, and I feel that inside of me, and it's like taking over. I'm like, oh yeah, fuck that dude, like, you know, I'm gonna get him, and you know, fuck that, no one talks to me that way, and I'm gonna, like, you know, put him in his place and, you know, tell him, you know, fuck you, and like it's consuming me, and I'm, you know, I feel as though I'm an aware person. You know, I know about this stuff, and it was interesting. So I'm sitting there on the couch, I'm having these negative thoughts, these negative feelings, all this, you know, I want to cause chaos, I want to cause destruction, you know, I want to cause, you know, mental harm. I don't want to like cause physical harm to this person, but, you know, I want to make them hurt. And I had this moment where I was like, man, I stepped outside of myself, and I realized, like, shit, man, that ain't me. Fuck, that's not what I want to be. I don't want to cause chaos. I don't want to get swept in, because that's what these people do. Is they get you with that hook, that they plant that negative seed, and then before you know it, you're coming at them with all that negativity that fuels them, and then you're coming right into their web. Boom, they hooked you. You're in their trap. You're fighting it out, battling with them. It's all drama. It's all chaos. You're just in this rage, and you're like, don't know why. That's why, and that's their secret weapon. Is they're fucking masters at it, and you've got to be able to look outside of yourself. And now, what saved me, and this is key, because we need tools. We need weapons. I need a secret weapon. You know, what's my secret weapon against these demons? You know, what's it going to be? And this is what it is. It's the monster method. For me, this is what my wife and I came up with. If you watched the videos before, you're familiar with it. And, you know, it's like Gray Rock Ninja, and it's a lot of keywords that help, you know, they're like trigger words that help, you know, remind us who these people are. And so I started running the keywords in my mind. I had the third person observation, like I don't want to be dwelling on this negativity. I don't want to fuck with this person. I want to be happy in myself. So I'm like, okay, how do I get in the mindset that's going to shift that negativity? And I want to uproot that fucking whatever weed plant they threw at me and started to take root. I'm uprooting it and I'm lighting that bitch on fire. So I started running the keywords. The keywords for me, and you can develop your own, but they're designed to get you in the mindset where you can view this person in another way. So delusional child. That's a good one for me. I just say this fucking person is a delusional child. And then they're no longer a peer or someone that you feel like you have to have mutual respect with. Because I give everyone mutual respect when I'm engaging with them. That's just how I am. But I'm coming off that initial negative interaction, and I'm trying to get in the right mindset to like get it out of my body, out of my psyche, and boom, it's like delusional child. That's a really good one. And that helps me see them as this little tiny delusional child just running around with like a hammer, banging on shit, like, and I can detach from having to give them any kind of mutual respect, because that person gets no mutual respect. The other thing is the terminology, the monster method. It's really clear. It clearly defines who these people are. This person is a monster, and you can't think otherwise. You can't think, oh, they're just a wounded child inside. It's like, nah, man, fuck that. This person is a demon monster, and their sole purpose is to destroy you and anyone they can get their hands on. Because just think, it's like, okay, that demon monster is doing that to lots of people. That negative interaction. They're channeling that fear, anxiety, chaos, hate, and they're pointing that bazooka at people's heads, and boom, they're getting blasted just like I did. And think of when that takes root inside of them. It's the exact same thing that happened to me. That thing grows, it takes root, and then it just starts to destroy you from the inside. And it's like, I don't understand how these, like I said, how they're so coordinated, man. Because like, I got to deal with that fucker, and then the next day I'm going to deal with another one doing the exact same thing. And that's why I think this, planting that seed of hate inside of people is their secret weapon, because that is so powerful. And it got me, but thank God, like, we have our own weapons. We have our own cache of weapons that I got buried out in the back 40 or down in the basement, and I'll just go in there and pull it out, and the monster method worked for me. And that's why, like, a big part of this, like I said, is that ability to be your own silent observer, that third person point of view. It's such a good skill to practice. So if you're dealing with this, and you're awake and aware, and you know what's up, but you're going to be dealing with these people, think of those words that you can use that help remind you who these people are and really what their intentions are, and think of that skill of being able to observe your emotions, and really make the decision of how you want to feel. Don't let these people decide for you, because they'll make the decision and you'll just drive off the cliff, and they'll be stoked. That's their whole thing. I don't know why they're so motivated to just destroy us all, but it's so weird. And when people say it's a spiritual war, it's a spiritual war, man. I cannot believe it. And when you wake up to it, and then you realize, like, damn, man, these people are everywhere. It's real. It gets real, and you just can't slip, because it could just, if that thing takes root and grows, and then you got this death weed inside of you, it'll dictate all your actions, and it'll just ultimately destroy you. So that's fighting the narcissist with their secret weapon. We got our own secret weapon. So think of your own kind of monster method. If you're not familiar with that, go back. There's videos where there's like predicting narcissist behavior. There's the monster method. There's a lot of kind of just stuff I'm trying to figure out in real time. This is all in real time. Like, all this stuff is happening right now. So that's why I think it's important to share it, and to see what you have to say, and what you think, and just give you some tools, because I wish I would have had that I wish I would have had someone there for me when I needed it. But it's okay. I made it through. So it's all good. Anyway, if you're wondering about the giant mansion behind me, it's not mine. This is Annandale on the Hudson, and this is in the Bard University campus. So it's just a park here in New York. You can just come here and hang out. But anyway, I thought it'd be cool to put in the shot. Anyway, as always, I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching, and have a good day.